One other feature about this 2018 Audi, right there, I was just looking at the sticker on the compressor to see what model number compressor this is and which oil it is. I always check, even if I think I know. This is a fixed breakaway clutch. This clutch does not spin. It is actually fixed to the compressor, so it's always spinning when the belt and the engine are going and the pulling and going. This compressor is always spinning. So even when you do a recovery, there is no refrigerant in that compressor. That means there's no extra cooling, there's no oil movement or anything. Now, a little start, go across the shop. Yeah, you could say maybe okay, maybe. But for the shops who like take this car down to the alignment shop, a couple blocks away, a couple miles away with no refrigerant, that shaft is turning with no coolant, no refrigerant going to it, no oil being pumped up to it. It's just a metal shaft spinning on a rubber seal and different composite seals. But basically there's nothing going back to save that shaft. Even though it's a variable displacement compressor with that swash plate, or any of them, doesn't matter which one, when they're in this position, they're in the minimum position, so there's basically no movement. There's very little displacement movement, so you don't have that great displacement as when it's operating, but there's still movement. So there's still friction, there's still rotation, it's still in motion. And while the car is being driven around to different places and sit idling with no refrigerant in the system, there is nothing protecting that compressor. It just sits there, and as long as the engine is spinning, that compressor is spinning with nothing coming back to it to cool it off, and no retrieval of oil or anything, only what's left in the compressor. So this has been a problem, and I've seen a few failures after cars were in accidents, wrecks, and they sent the car around. I fill it up and immediately after the compressor goes. That's very rare, but it does happen. So that's just another note. Oh, on another note, look at this old Buick. This thing's built like a tank. You guys from refrigeration, old EPR valve or POA valve, whichever name you want to give it. Sometimes it was called the wrong name sometimes, but this is actually an adjustable valve where you'll have a low, it's to keep a constant suction throttling pressure at the evaporator at all times. So you might have 5 psi on this side, but you'll have your 24 psi or 31 psi on this side because it's controlled by valving in here. Good old-fashioned American-made expansion valve there. Nice old Frigidaire, 3.75 pounds of R12. Yep. Oh, up to 4 charged R12. 4.25 pounds of R12 in this system. And you have your old 500 viscosity mineral oil was the viscosity on this. Some of the first really old compressors back in the 50s had 1000 viscosity mineral oil. And even some of the very first really old ones with dual AC and everything like that, they tried a few models with R22. Not many people know that. And it was 1000 viscosity oil, refrigerant mineral oil. And that's it. Pretty good condition. Daly City, little bit of salt corrosion because they're by the ocean a little bit, but he's not right down on the coast, so this is in pretty nice condition. And just thought show some really old American car that's in good condition and sounds like a tank. I mean, this is a heavy door. I mean, you could almost build a Toyota just out of the metal in that door. All right, guys, that's it. A little breeze on air conditioning here. It'd be a joy to actually, I'd like to service his AC. Original controls. There's your box right there for your air heater core. Yeah, we don't see too many of these anymore. This is what my dad worked on, and this is what I worked on from my dad's old cars and old neighbors and stuff. This is what I learned on. These are the compressors that I used to build for my dad in the summertime off school, and he would sell these. We'd get them for whole trash can, a whole 55-gallon barrel from the wrecking yard for $5 a piece, and then we would rebuild them and turn around and sell them as rebuilds for $75 to shops. And if my dad put them on in the shop and everything like that, it was $300. And my dad used to give me $25 for every compressor I rebuilt in the shop at home. And that was my summertime job after I was 12 years old. And that's it. Good money for a 12-year-old. See you guys.